Nearly 1,000 gas stations across the country have shut down over the past 6.5 years, reflecting a steady contraction in the industry, according to the Korea National Oil Corporation.
한국석유공사 발표에 따르면 최근 6년 반 동안 전국 주유소 중 1,000곳 가까이가 문을 닫은 것으로 나타났습니다. 이는 해당 업종이 구조적인 축소 국면에 있음을 보여주는 것으로 풀이됩니다.
Yeah, this is an interesting trend. So if you look at the numbers between 2019 and June of 2025, there's been about a decline of about 8.4% in just simply the number of gas stations across the country. And that's a closure over that span of about one gas station every 2 to 3 days. So you might be wondering, what's happening here? Why are these gas stations shutting down and shutting down business? The main reason is profitability.
Yeah,
so a lot of these
obviously.
gas stations are run as franchises, I think. And profit margins have really plummeted. So if you go back all the way to the early 1990s, in 1991, profit margins were at about 18% for individual gas stations, but that's declined to 11.5% in 2001. And in 2023, profit margins are just 1.7%, meaning that gas stations are barely staying afloat. They're barely breaking even. So that's probably one reason why a lot of these gas stations, fortunately, are closing.
Yeah.
My sort of uneducated guess would be also there's a trend in people taking public transportation perhaps here across in the Seoul region. And also you have alternatives to gas combustion engines. You have electric vehicles and hybrids as well.
Well, the fact that 1,000 petrol stations or gas stations have closed, it shows something. It reflects something.
Yes. So if it actually expresses or it demonstrates, right? It displays and expresses something. So a reflection would be something that you see through a mirror, for example, but in this case, it reflects, it manifests itself.
Yeah. In the animated movie Mulan, or is it Mulan? Either
Both are
pronunciation.
accepted, I think.
So the main character, looks into the pond, I think she has in her house, and she looks at her reflection, and she sings the song about, my reflection, who am I, and all of that. So that's the reflection we talk about when we look at ourselves in the mirror or in the water. But here we're looking at a situation, and we're saying this tells us that something is happening.
Right. So you can also reflect on the past, for example. So you're thinking very deeply about what your past actions and things were. But here we're talking about just this trend reflects sort of something else happening in the industry.
Exactly. 자, 반영한다라는 뜻으로 투영한다, 반영한다, 얼굴 이제 반사된다 이런 의미가 다 있죠. Reflect. 여기서는 주유소가 지난 6년 동안 1,000곳이나 문을 닫은 이 현상이 이런 걸 보여준다라고 생각하시면 됩니다. 뭘 보여주느냐? A steady contraction in the industry.
Yeah, so I gave you data from the early 90s to the early 2000s to present day. So the contraction, if something contracts, it means it shrinks, right? So that contraction, the trend of it was steady, meaning that it was very steady, uniform, consistent. It wasn't sudden in a way.
Steady, slow and steady wins the race.
Yep, the tortoise and the hare.
That's right. 토끼와 거북이 이서부화에서도요. 꾸준히 천천히 포기하지 않고 하다 보면은 이긴다. 이런 게 그 moral of the story죠. 그런데 그거를 이제 영어로는 slow and steady wins the race. slow만 한 게 중요한 게 아니고요. 그러면 이기기 힘든데 꾸준한 거, steady가 중요하죠.
Yeah, something that's constant and dependable, right?
Yeah. So a steady contraction means it's been shrinking, but in an even pace, as you said.
In a very uniform sort of way. And of course, to be steady also means to be solid, right? Not shaking.
That's true.
For example, you don't want your doctor who's about to operate on you to have unsteady hands,
shaky
right?
hands,
you don't want to have them shaking hands.
No, absolutely not. steady가 그래서 굉장히 이제 침착하다는 느낌으로도 쓸 수 있어요. 그리고 이제 손이 흔들리지 않고 그냥 가만히 있는 이런 상태도 steady.
Stable, right?
Stable, steady 이런 것도 다 이렇게 표현을 할 수가 있죠. All right, well, here's the headline again. Nearly 1,000 gas stations across the country have shut down over the past 6.5 years, reflecting a steady contraction in the industry, according to the Korea National Oil Corporation.